1, 2. Good evening and happy February. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Bonsall Unified School District Board of Trustees meeting. We will start with a roll call.
Nani Uswa here.
Eiley Trusty here.
Eric Atiga here.
Pascal Lapoire here.
Roger Murchat here.
Michael Gaddis here.
And Larissa Anderson here. If we could have our student board reps lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Prior to open session, the board convened in closed session where we considered the appointment, employment, evaluation of performance, discipline, transfer, or dismissal of employees, Government Code 54957. Discussed our position regarding collective bargaining with the Bonsall Teachers Association and the California School Employees Association, Chapter 703, in order to direct the superintendent as chief negotiator in the matter of BTA and CSEA contracts. Regarding conference with legal counsel regarding potential litigation, as well as conference with real property negotiators regarding the property location on the east side of Horse Creek Ranch Road in Fallbrook. And in closed session, the board took action to approve a final settlement agreement and general release in OAH case number 20241000728. Under this agreement, the district will fund and provide educational services to the student involved. In return, the student's parents have agreed to release all claims against the district as detailed in the settlement agreement. Upon a motion by, who was the action? Was it Mr. Lapari was the official motion, and a second by Roger Murchat. The motion passed 3-2. Sorry, 4-1. Thank you. And with that, is there approval of a current agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to the approval of the minutes for the board study session of January 14th, as well as the regular meeting of January 16th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to our reports. We will start with our superintendent report, Dr. Heather Golly.
I don't know if anybody else is as wet as I am, but good evening, Board of Trustees and Mrs. McInerney. I'm Dr. Heather Golly, proud superintendent of Bonsall Unified. Really pleased to be here tonight to present a report to you. And I wanted to share with a picture that brings me some joy. And taking a look at it, I hope it brings you some joy as well. And I won't say it's just because it says I love UC San Diego here. As many of you know, I do love UC San Diego, proud alumnus of UC San Diego. Met my husband there, also had a son graduate from there, and another son is there right now. But honestly, it's those Sullivan Middle School students there that bring me the most joy. This is a perfect picture to exemplify a lot of what we do for our future of Bonsall and the future of our students. Our students at Sullivan, as many of you know, take college field trips, different ones every year, and they get to visit all of the major universities in the area. And it just makes me really proud to see how excited they are about their future, how excited we are. And it's a wonderful example of our theme, belong, believe, achieve. And what I'd like to do, as I always do, is ground us in our framework for the future and what it means here to belong, believe, achieve in Bonsall. And in our framework for the future, we have a wonderful vision and a mission that guides what we do. Nani, would you please read our vision for us?
Yes. All students in Bonsall Unified School District engage in rigorous and relevant learning experiences that inspire them to be productive community members and future-ready lifelong learners.
Eiley, how about our mission?
We empower all students to thrive in a positive, safe, and supportive environment through high-quality education focused on the whole learner.
Thank you. And you know, in addition to that, we have our learner outcomes. and we have our values. And the reason I remind you of that every single board meeting and every time I get up in front of our staff is that that needs to be driving what we do. So what I want to take a moment to do is share with you, as I'm walking around BUSD and I have this wonderful vantage point of being able to see wonderful things that are happening, I want to share with you a little bit of as seen around BUSD. Where do we see that vision and that mission in action? I think almost everyone here has had children go through Bonsall Unified School District, or you're in Bonsall Unified School District, and you probably remember the 6th grade China banquet at Sullivan Middle School. A wonderful example of an immersive experience for our students where they get to focus on the whole learner and they get to make sure that they have projects that are meaningful and interesting. China banquet. Do you remember the China banquet, many of you? Yes, probably. Okay. And another example of as seen around BUSD. Our athletic program at the high school, we're very proud of the growth that we've seen here. And this picture that was shared to me by Ms. Ariano is a wonderful example of Bonsall High School and the team spirit that we see. Because what you see in this picture are boys from the basketball team, the baseball team, and the soccer teams all showing up to support the boys basketball senior night. And it's a great example of the collaboration and the support in a positive, safe, and supportive environment that we see. Another wonderful example, and I know that Trustee Murchat and Trustee Laupree were in attendance at our recent BUSD Advisory Committee meeting. I'm going to defer to Ms. Brown, who's going to share a lot more about the actual content of that advisory committee meeting, but I did want to highlight it as an example of our values in action. And it was wonderful to see such great representation from across the district and from our community, really grappling with some of our planning issues and some of our larger goals for the district. You will hear more about that in an informational presentation from Caroline Brown in just a little bit. Another example I wanted to highlight, our mock trial prosecution team. And I have to say, Nani, I see you right there. And Nani, I see you right there, right? Our team, from what I understand, on February 11th, just this week, right? We had our first day of, I think it's a 3-day, and I'm not sure if you're going to be talking about that, so I won't talk about it too much. But I'm very eager. I believe they have another event next week, and I'm very eager to try to go in person to see what you all do. But it's just an example of some of the great experiences that our students have and some of the successes that we're seeing at the high school, and we're very proud of the work that they are doing. I also wanted to highlight our BHS valedictory circle. And before I actually highlight the whole circle, I'd like Eiley and Nani to stand. Please stand. And this, we just had the experience last night, and Nani, I know you weren't there, but both Eiley and Nani were recognized as some of the students. I think we had 36 students total who qualified for our valedictory circle. And it was a wonderful celebration of our learner profile in action. Principal Smuts actually talked about our valedictory circle as being really emblematic of what it is that we are trying to foster in our students. And I just wanted everybody to give you all a round of applause. And you might see up there on the screen that we did announce our salutatorian, who is Matthew Such, and our valedictorian, Nani Usua. I just wanted to shout both of you out because I know it's quite an accomplishment. And as someone who spent 25 years in secondary, 21 years at a high school, I saw graduation after graduation, all of the celebrations that come in second semester. I also saw in second semester how easy it is to maybe try to relax a little bit. So it is not over, hang in there, but we're so proud of you and the rest of the Bonsall High School students who are a part of that valedictory circle. Thank you for representing us so well. Just want to shout that out. I I also wanted to highlight, we had, this was a busy week. We also had our most recent Native Learner Advisory Committee, and I want to thank our staff that went to the Paula Housing Resource Center and presented and shared and collaborated, and it was wonderful to see this partnership continue. I know that we had a lot of our families who were asking for more information about 504s and IEPs, for example. And so we went and shared some information. We shared some current data on academics and on attendance, and then had an opportunity to hear from our Director of Special Education and also Principal James talking about IEPs and 504s, and all of our admin was there, and we were just really appreciative. It's a great partnership and wanted to shout that out. I also wanted to share another bright spot. This is the culmination of quite a bit of partnership and collaboration. We have been working to get this partnership off the ground. This is Dr. Tipiconic. He's in the red shirt there. He is a professor at Cal State San Marcos, and he's also a muralist. And we have been working with him to start a mural project at Bonsall High School and Sullivan Middle School. And this is just the start of it. It features our students. I know you've heard about this a couple times at some of the more recent board meetings as we were trying to get it off the ground. But it features our students. I think it's going to feature a total of maybe 10 of our students. And it is a wonderful kind of physical representation of different culture. And we're hoping that it is just the first of other mural projects that we can do. We can see our campuses as a blank canvas and see a way for us to make sure a lot of our students are feeling like they are seen and valued. And we're really excited to see it take shape, and we'll bring pictures as it continues to move forward, but pretty neat. I also wanted to shout out something else that happened this week. You know that I've started a Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and I'm very pleased to see the amount of student voice that we are elevating across all of our campuses. And I stopped by Sullivan Middle School to see their Wildcat Student Advisory Council in action, and of course asked if I could take a selfie and highlight them. But it's wonderful to see our students finding their voice and having an opportunity to give feedback to what is happening at their site and to be heard. And I wanted to shout that out. A couple other things before we move into some wonderful recognitions. We have some upcoming events that I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of. Next week on Tuesday, February 18th at 10 a.m., there is a groundbreaking event for the Bonsall Community Park, which will be right across the street over here. I know there's been a lot of anticipation, a lot of interest, a lot of different voices about the community park, and it does look like it is breaking ground next week. So that is at February 18th at 10 a.m. Wanted to make sure everybody was aware. And another upcoming event that we're very, very excited about, we have our Bonsall Women's Club BUSD Spring Art Show that is coming up on April 30th. And what we're doing right now is promoting the art show with all of our students, and the submissions are going to be due on March 15. So staff is aware of that, students should be aware of that, our teachers are promoting it, it's going home also in the newsletters. We'd like to see just as large a showing at this year's event as we had last year, which was massive. And I know that President Anderson is chairing that, correct, for Bonsall Women's Club, and we'll be doing a lot of planning coming up, getting ready for that. But at the moment, what students should be doing is preparing their artwork so that they can submit by March 15. So please spread the word. Exciting things happening. Okay. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and move into some recognitions. And the first recognition, I'm going to turn over to Mr. Williams as our to recognize our exemplary community partner.
Thank you, Dr. Gawley. Good evening, President Anderson, Board of Trustees, student representatives, Ms. McInerney. Well, we do have some wonderful community partners, and it's really a delight to bring people forward before the board that are really celebrating and supporting students within our community and working with our schools. So I'd like to bring forward To Chile Healing Hearts, the group that's with us tonight, and also Mr. Costa from Vivian Banks Charter School. So if you could please join me at the podium. Thanks for being here. So just to tell you a little bit about Tuchili Healing Hearts first. They provide behavioral health services to children, adults, and elders throughout the Paula community. Through Paula Tribal Administration, their services are extensive and impactful. During the first semester of the school year, Vivian Banks principal, Mr. Danny Costa, reached out to Tuchili Healing Hearts to potentially work with some Vivian Banks students in need of counseling and grief services. Over the course of several collaborative meetings, it was mutually agreed upon through a district and tribal MOU that Tuchili Healing Hearts would move into a permanent space on the Vivian Banks campus, which is now wonderfully known as and named as Eagle's Nest, which I thought was fantastic. A licensed therapist and counselors now provide students with complimentary confidential counseling from professionals at Vivian Banks Charter School. Mr. Menendez and other Tuchili team members are now regular and welcome fixtures on campus. This unique partnership has been directly supported by Chairman of the Paula Band of Mission Indians, Robert Smith, the BUSD Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Gawley, and Paula Social Services Director Claudia Chavez, and many other community members who are actively building the structure of mental health support for all Eagle students. Tuchili Healing Hearts demonstrates the positivity and power of what can happen when communities work together on the behalf of young people. And we're just really excited about the work that's going on at Vivian Banks. I know that Tuchili has done so much for the Paul community, and we just want to express our gratitude for partnering with us, taking up a residence at Vivian Banks, working with Mr. Costa, which is probably just a delight, and the students at Vivian Banks. It's a really special place, and we're glad to have you as special partners. So thank you so much, and let's give them a round of applause. We wanted to present this plaque, and I just want to read it here. Tuchili Healing Hearts, Outstanding Community Partnership, Bonsall Unified School District, for recognition of the invaluable contributions to the positive and healthy well-being of Vivian Banks Charter School students and the love and care provided to the entire Paula community. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, I have the pleasure of presenting the next recognition, and it's for someone that you're going to recognize. And I'd like to, in order to get started, could I please have Jen Ariano come up to the podium? Probably wasn't expecting this. I know that many of you know that the last time we were here at a board meeting, I presented on what was happening with the fires in LA. Do you remember that? And we had talked about some impacts for us on a power shutoff. And then we had in January our own really frightening event. And it really highlighted for us somebody that we want to recognize, and I'm going to read a little bit about her right now. I am honored to recognize a special employee for her absolutely outstanding commitment to our district's communications and her crucial role during emergency situations. I know you know Miss Ariano. You've seen the many, many hats she wears. Teacher, parent, BTA president, theater director. She's involved with Bonsall Education Foundation and PING. She's supporting our work with Bonsall Forward Initiative and with the BHS alumni efforts. Yes, and she's our communications lead. And in this role, she has consistently celebrated and elevated, not her, I mean the other ones as well, but in this role, she has consistently celebrated and elevated our district's presence through compelling articles in local media and wonderful coordination of district-wide communications. She's ensuring our community stays informed and engaged with district initiatives. As you know, most recently on January 20th, in the middle of the night, Her dedication was powerfully exemplified when she helped to coordinate our response to the urgent situation our community faced with the nearby fire and the potential power shutoffs that affected our schools. Without hesitation, she worked through the night, coordinating with administration via conference calls to ensure that every family, student, and staff member received timely information about the school closure. Through text, email, social media, and through multiple follow-up communications, her swift action and professional handling of this emergency communication demonstrated not only her technical expertise, but also her deep commitment to the safety and well-being of our entire school community. Whether it's sharing our district's successes through local media, or managing crisis communications in the middle of the night, or driving and talking to whoever was there at the checkpoint to find out what time they were opening in the morning. She did that too. Her unwavering dedication to keeping our community informed and connected makes her a truly invaluable member of our team. Thank you, Ms. Ariano, for all your amazing efforts and service to BUSD. Let me read this if I can see it. Outstanding service and dedication to district communications. For recognition of your exceptional commitment to district communications demonstrated through tireless efforts in emergency response and consistent excellence in keeping our school community informed. Picture. I don't understand. Okay, and I have one more that's probably a surprise. I am honored to recognize another exceptional employee who truly embodies the heart and soul of Bonsall Unified School District. I would like to call up Mrs. Gina McInerney to the podium. As you know, as executive assistant to the superintendent and the board, Mrs. McInerney has established herself as an indispensable pillar of our district, known for her quiet strength and leadership. Many of you know that Gina is the consummate professional. She keeps our district office running smoothly, but her impact extends far beyond her official duties. Her institutional knowledge is unmatched. I can attest to that. And she approaches every interaction with a level of professionalism and wisdom that sets the standard for excellence in our district. Like Ms. Ariano, Mrs. McInerney's dedication was clearly demonstrated during our recent emergency response on January 20th. In the middle of the night, we were all up, right? She worked tirelessly alongside our team, providing crucial support and coordination to ensure our emergency communications reached every member of our school community. Her calm demeanor and skilled expertise during crisis situations exemplify the quiet confidence that makes her such an invaluable team member. What truly sets Mrs. McInerney apart is her ability to handle any situation with extraordinary grace and compassion. You can nod if you agree. You've seen it. Yes, yes. Whether she's assisting a concerned parent, supporting staff members, or coordinating complex district initiatives, she brings a level of kindness and understanding that makes everyone feel valued and heard. Her deep knowledge of our district, combined with her professional acumen, makes her an irreplaceable source of guidance and support for our entire team, and really for me. So thank you, Gina, for being the backbone of our district office, for your unwavering dedication to our school community, and for consistently demonstrating what it means to serve with both excellence and heart. We are so, so grateful for you. And we need a picture. And I read what it says. It's similar to Miss Ariano's. Thank you, thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Williams for another recognition.
Thank you so much. Well, at this time, we'd like to bring Jen Ariano back up to the podium and also have the Bonsall High School Theater Company join her. So if everyone would come on up. Fantastic. Thank you, students, for making it out tonight, especially on this rainy night. Well, I wanted to share some, oh, yeah, great. Come on out. We're clearly an unbalanced line here, but that's okay. Somebody want to, if you want to shift this way, or are you okay? I won't make you. Okay. All right. So before I share some things about the Bonsall High School Theater Company, I wanted to just show you some clips of the last production they did called The Game. So there's just a few short snippets. So let's take a look so that we can do this. Great, that would be super, Christian.
My dear Dad, I would like for you to do me a favor.
A favor? Now isn't that just like a woman that we met was willing to play fair?
How many times do I have to tell you that the game has to be played? It's the law. You know it just as well as I do.
Oh, the law. The law's always in your favor, Dad.
Precisely why I've always said the universe would be a wreck if women had any say.
Ah, the girl is on her way here. Once you meet her, you'll find me beautiful.
Funny thing is, you probably will, you know.
Oh, don't bother with the empty promises. Love only comes once.
Then she wasn't worth your love. She was like the men who wait for me at the stage door. She wanted to destroy you.
If I can't have love to warm me, I can't create beauty. If I can't create beauty, I can't live.
I offer you peace.
Peace? You think I want peace? I'm a dancer, a child of the whirling winds. Why would I be blind to sunlight, deaf to youth's music, dumb to laughter? Has all the joy that's in me scattered into darkness?
Ever let him know how much I mind these soldiers? They're the flower of youth. There are many dreamers among them. 14, 70, 77.
And you noticed in the credits there that we have some students up here that were represented as leading that, Nani. And so congratulations to your last production that you all did. Very well done. I wanted to share more though, but I just wanted to whet your appetite just a bit. So if you don't know this, the Bonsall High School Theater Company was founded in 2021 with the mission to, I love this mission, to entertain and make people think. So I thought that was fantastic. What a statement. Since its inception, the company has provided students with hands-on, real-world learning experiences in all aspects of theater production, from acting and directing to set design, lighting, and stage management. This was just one production that they've done. They've done some really, really elaborate things too, but this was certainly a crisp and exciting show for all who came out. In just a few years, the company has produced diverse seasons of play, ranging from Shakespeare to Clue. The company has also staged a radio play adaptation of It's a Wonderful Life and the satirical musical Urinetown. Expanding its creative offerings, Bonsall High School is launching an improv comedy troupe called The Legionnaire's Disease. These are very, very fun names. I love them. And the Bonsall High School Theater Company relies on ticket sales and concessions to finance future productions. With the support of the Bonsall Education Foundation, the company is currently raising funds for its upcoming spring musical, Ride the Cyclone. Again, fantastic. The play's going to be even better. Looking ahead, the company has just launched a website to showcase past and future creations. The long-range dream of the company is the creation of a black box theater serving as a cultural hub for the entire Bonsall community. Tax-deductible donations can be made through the Bonsall Education Foundation, just a Google search away. And for more details on past and upcoming productions, you can visit bhstheater.com. I think one of the most powerful things of the theater, and Jen would be able to say a tremendous amount more and probably much more eloquently, is the opportunity for students to rehearse, to get in front of others, to speak, communicate with clarity. And there's just a great opportunity. I'm sure students could give personal testimonies of the connections you make with other students through a variety of different grade levels. So we're so proud of what Jen has done, but there's been other contributors as well to get this started and keep this going. But it is really the life force of the theater is really the students. So we really appreciate your commitment to the program. And I know many of you will be graduating, but those that aren't, we're looking for you to come back and further strengthen the program. I want to read to you the certificate, and it says, Bonsall High School Theater Company, exemplary leadership and student engagement for recognition of the commitment, determination, and excellent contributions of the cast, crew, staff, community members, and advisor to launch and grow and this was most fitting word, transformational student program. So congratulations to you all. Great job. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, and I want to thank them for coming out. I know that many of these students have had events every night, I think, this week and last week. So I really appreciate you coming out and hearing our appreciation for you, because it really is an excellent endeavor which you guys are participating in. So what we're going to do right now is we will have a brief recess, and this will give the opportunity, I know many of the students have homework that they're going to. This will give an opportunity hopefully for you to come up and take a picture even with the board. I'm sure the board wants to congratulate you as well. So we'll take just a brief recess, I think.
We'll reconvene at 7 p.m. at 6:51. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we can all resume the meeting, it's 7:01. That would be great. Thank you. All right. That brings us now to our group reports. Do we have any of our parent groups here today? PTA, PING? Okay. Then bringing us to our labor reports. BTA, Ms. Ariano.
Okay, so thank you, first of all. Before I put on that other hat, I just wanted to say thank you very much. That was a nice surprise and completely unnecessary because I was just doing my 6 jobs. So, and I'm very happy to be a part of a job that's so meaningful. So, thank you guys. But as they all know, I have to switch on a turn a lot. So here, presto magic. I am now the BTA president. Okay, so first of all, I really, really want to commend the district and the board for always emphasizing teachers' voice in decision making. And it was really nice to see in the superintendent's report that taking the ideas and the philosophy and turning it into action. Because the reality inside our schools right now is it's challenging. And I'm not talking just about Bonsall, I'm talking about everywhere. I am also on the California Teachers Association State Council. So I get to meet with teachers from all over the state, and it's the same story. Education has changed, and we're not changing fast enough with it. So one thing I do say in my other job all the time is that our size is our strength. And what I mean by that is that because we are so small, we can pivot. We can try things. We can be kind of experimental in ways that larger organizations can't be. We can try things. If they work, we keep them. And if we don't, we toss them. And that's what we're going to have to do to see our way through this. One thing that's concerning the teachers right now, we would love to partner with you in trying to solve this, is the shortage in special education and being more proactive. It drains the general fund when we have we outsource our education, or if we send students to another site to receive services, or we have to contract out for an SLP. So, you know, when somebody goes on maternity leave, you know, that doesn't come out of nowhere. So we should plan ahead and be more proactive about trying to replace these teachers. And we would like to partner with you. I've made this offer before, but we will come to job fairs and talk about how great Bonsall is and come work for us. We just need somebody to take us up on it. So thank you, and have a great President's Week off.
Do we have anyone here from CSEA today? Okay. Then that brings us to our management reports. Is there an order for our high school? All right, and we have Vivian Banks.
Good evening, everyone. School board members, student board representatives, Dr. Golly, Ms. McInerney. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Just wanted to share some of our recent highlights, as well as some of our just real-time challenges that we're facing, and some of the work that we're doing to address some of those needs. So I always like to put just some of the nice photos of campus here, but also just these are some wonderful students at work just from the last few days. Kids in 4th grade, 3rd grade, just doing wonderful work and being wonderful young people Anytime I'm able to get into the classroom, which is just about every single day, and so I just truly appreciate what I'm able to do. So just to continue on with really the magnitude of what Tuchula Healing Hearts is bringing to the campus, the collaborative spirit, and it's nice because now we're really getting into the groove of the therapists being on campus regularly, seeing students who have signed up for the service, and it's so special to me to in the mornings when Tuchula Healing Hearts is on campus and some of the students are saying, "Oh, do I get to go see, this person or that person?" And it's a very warm, caring part of our community school atmosphere. So it's very wonderful. We also are continuing on with our Native American and Indigenous Scholars Project. We have met now twice. Miss Brianna and Miss Starr, who you all know, I'm sure, are running the program. Miss Brianna is running the program at Vivian Banks, and we have 6 scholars who are working on their master's degrees either through school psychology or counseling, and they are able to work with our students as well, which is an added bonus. So that's well on its progress, and we will have those scholars on campus through the middle of May, every Monday. So 2 areas that I would like to focus on that are areas of improvement, both on our LCAP as well as just areas that we're looking to focus in on right now, because they have been some challenges. So our first is attendance, which is our LCAP goal 1.2. And really our attendance has been so far a play of 3 acts. And I just would like to give you some real numbers here and show you how we started, where we were just about a month ago, and then some of the actions and initiatives that we're putting into place to get back to where we want to be. So to begin with, essentially almost all of the first semester, we were in a very, very strong position with over 95, almost 96% cumulative attendance for that first semester, which is something that the staff and the community and the kids should all be very proud of. And that is just the recognition of being present at school and being seen and being heard is very, very important. And we did see, and there's that correlation that we all know about being in education, being present is going to lead to academic successes. And so we saw that from the beginning. And then we hit that mid-December time period where we had the fires, we had a lot of students at all of the school sites who were sick. We started to have some families heading out of country for a few weeks, and so attendance really took a fairly significant dip for about 4 weeks, both prior and after the holiday break. So we were below 90% attendance during about a 4-week period. So mid-January, so this is again only 3 weeks ago or so, myself, the leadership team, we really wanted to get back to our 95, 96% attendance, because we've been there. We know that that's something that's achievable. And also another number I didn't include here, but our chronic absenteeism simultaneously had been very, very low, and it had risen to a number that none of us were content with. So we started putting into just some additional communication methodologies, started working even in a deeper level with Paula Learning Center, additional communication pieces, and we have started to right that ship, and we are starting to get back to that number that we are really feeling confident with. So you can see here, January 21st through the 24th, that was really the week when we started to really hit this, and we were about 90%. Then we dipped a tiny bit, and then really the last 2 weeks we have started to sustain. So so I have full confidence that we are going to be able to get back to this number, and then beyond that, the number of chronic absenteeism is also it will start to become a much more healthy number, and I know we can do it because we have. So that's just a real-time challenge that we have, but also what we are doing as a team to alleviate that. Second area of, and again, this is just real-time work that we are doing and some of the challenges that we face. Our district writing assessments. We have just completed our second district writing assessment, and we were all very concerned with our scores from the fall, which was narratives. And I decided to focus my time here, and I'll be very quick, on grade 3. Grade 3 so that kind of that baseline score in the fall, the average score of the third grade class from 1 to 4, 3 being proficient, was 1.6. So something that needs a great deal of work. And we as a team, and this is just one of the reasons why I really appreciate both the community and the staff at Vivian Banks, we're not just accepting these numbers because these students deserve better than that. So I just wanted to highlight very briefly here an exemplary educator that a lot of us know, Miss Jessica Knust, and here she is working with 3 third graders in her class on our most recent writing assessment. You can see the true joy on their faces because Miss Knust went back to her roots, and it was graphic organizers, it was going through how to properly cite, and she was determined, and every day these students were at it, and not only was the results, we haven't yet finished the grading, but just the efforts that the students were giving was much improved, but there's starting to become a familiarity with the process of formal writing that students had been lacking in third grade. And so these are 2 that you can just look at on your own time, but these are from just the last few days. And I just wanted to showcase these both because, again, we're seeing third graders, and again, it's through their efforts and also Ms. Knust's big lift of having students, they're using citations and sourcing materials, and they are proud of this work they're doing. And I have full confidence that once we do grade these in the next few days, when we return, that our scores, I really do feel strongly, will potentially double, going from a 1.6 average to a 2.6, maybe even average within that proficient category. So small little snapshot of some of the work that we're doing. But again, I appreciate your time very much, and thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. And Bonsall L. Ms. Fortney.
Good evening, board, student board members, Dr. Ghali and Gina. I'm not sure, I know I shared this with Dr. Ghali last month, and I'm not sure if she shared it with the board, but we have 2 new additions on our campus, one in our kindergarten playground and one in our regular big kid playground. In conjunction with our PTA and our SLPs, our speech and language pathologists, we have created some communication boards that are on the playground so that our students who are nonverbal students, and those students might use assistive technology devices, and so they're familiar with many of these icons. They can use these to communicate with students on the playground simply by going up and pointing, just talking about playing or things that they want to do. So we're really excited to be using these and including our students who are all playing together out there. Do I just push the button, Christian, or are you going to do it? Okay. Mrs. Ariano caught this for us today. It is our second graders in their patriotic performance, and she made this clip for us.
You can grow up to be, grow up to be, grow up to be president in this land of the free, home of the great. Anybody can say you can grow up to be president, grow up to be president of the USA.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you, Mrs. Ariano, for doing that. So every year, the second grade classes work very, very hard. They talk about different historical figures who have changed and framed our country, and they go on to talk about how they can do it too. So I appreciate Mrs. Ariano being there and catching that. Okay, our annual Jogathon PTA put together. It was January 30th, I believe. The goal was to raise $50,000, and they ended up raising $62,150, which means I get to be taped to the wall ball wall by every single student in the school. So 965 children will place a piece of tape on me. And it's, I believe, on April 10th, if you want to mark your calendars and come out. They asked if I wanted to do it in the morning or the afternoon, and I said it depends on the weather. So we shall see. But also the sponsors, Fallbrook Regional Health, Center Septic, Mozzie Heating and Air, Edco, San Marcos Vet, and Sylvester Roofing. We were able to purchase Jogathon t-shirts for every student in the school and staff member as well. And North County Fire came out to help support running with the kids and marking off their laps. So that's always a fun event, and it was exhausting watching them prepare for it. So that's our president and vice president in those pictures right now there of our PTA. They always do a great job, and we're grateful for them. Okay, so just as Mr. Costa was talking about data, I kind of took a little bit of a deep dive after I saw these two quotes the other day. Data analysis reveals student weaknesses, but it fails to guide the effective teaching adjustments. So a couple weeks ago, we collectively as a school, as a teachers, all got together in grade levels, but we were all in the NPR, and we looked over our winter data in math. We're piloting math right now, piloting math curriculum. We had a great meeting yesterday with all of our teachers who are piloting our math curriculum. We're getting really honest feedback from them. But our winter scores show that 66% of our students are working below grade level in math. So granted that there is an improvement. You can see in the bottom down there, I don't know how to use the little thing to the red dot, but you can see it says from 6%. If you see the mid or above grade level underneath in parentheses, it says from 6%. It went up to 15%. So the ones on the bottom there, those were the fall scores. And then the line you're seeing with the 5 different categories there, those are our winter scores. So we sat down and started going through each grade level. Had to really analyze their data and look at all the different subgroups, geometry, algebra, number sense, and they had to choose a focus area. So first grade chose number and operations. Then they had to come up with a plan of how they were going to address that area. what strategies they were going to use, differentiation, supplemental materials, etc. And then they are going to track their data, and we'll reconvene in about 6 weeks, which is about a good amount of time to show what interventions have been put in place, whether they're working or not. So this was first grade and second grade, planned on using number and operations as well. I then also sent a Google form to all the grade levels and asked for their honest feedback regarding why they think we are where we're at. There were most of the grade levels said that they didn't feel that the students were starting the grade level with a solid foundation. Some grade levels answered together, but I had one first grade teacher, and I don't even know who it is. She answered on her own, and I thought that her response was very honest and reflective. She says, in full transparency, students are entering first grade lower than ever before. They're missing foundational skills. They have poor number sense. Additionally, our curriculum is not developmentally appropriate. It is abstract, wordy, and lacks spiral review. Each day presents a new skill. Lastly, time is an issue. I love our specials and prep time, but it comes at a cost. I know I've had to reduce math centers as a result of our limited instructional time. Given all of these factors, I believe the greatest problem is the lack of skill set entering first grade. If we are already in catch-up mode in first, what will that look like by fifth? I have one additional final thought. The rigor that we expect of our children is not developmentally appropriate. When the state compares data to years ago and complains of our failing scores, no one is discussing the dramatic change in developmentally inappropriate expectations. Are the kids failing, or are we failing the kids? So I thought that was really reflective. I went and looked at kindergartens, being that this came from a first grade teacher, and they were very explicit and wrote the most, actually, about very specific about the curriculum, things they hear from the parents. Because I think often when we look at data and we see students are struggling, we immediately point the finger at the students. Oh, they're not getting support at home, or oh, they're not studying, they're not returning their homework. But we as a staff are looking inward and reflecting on what it is that we can do to make those changes. Lastly, I'll end on a happy note. I didn't mean to be such a downer, but it is the reality of where we're at, and we want to do better and be better and get better. We celebrated the 100th day of school, and these are two little kindergartners that dressed up as old people. So the cutest thing is that the little girl, those glasses they don't have any lenses in them, and she won't stop wearing them. She's been wearing them every day. I go out to the kindergarten playground and she's just running around with these glasses on. So fun stuff coming up, a lot of good things. Our annual book swap was just always amazing that Rayanne DuPont puts on every year. Our daddy-daughter dance is coming up. So that's where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. And Bonsall West, Principal Camacho.
All right. Good evening, board members, student board members, board president Anderson, Dr. Gawley, Gina. All right, so this evening, I'd like to highlight the work of our school counselor, the important work. So Miss Andy Mata, she has the important role of ensuring that our students feel safe and supported while in our school. She plays such a vital role in creating a positive and supportive environment at Bonsall West. Her contributions go beyond just counseling. Being involved in committees shows her dedication to making the school a better place for everyone. The students and staff appreciate all of her hard work. She is more than just a counselor. So, just like our district, we're going to talk about this a little bit. Ms. Mata really takes a thoughtful, intentional approach to her role as a counselor. By revisiting her own vision, mission, and values every year, she is ensuring that her work aligns with both the needs of the students and the overall goals of our school. That kind of reflection and dedication speaks volumes about her commitment to providing a meaningful and supportive experience for everyone. Ms. Mata aligns her work with the district's vision, mission, and values. It's a great way to ensure that consistency across the school community by focusing on what we want to become, what we do daily to make it happen, and the values we demonstrate. It gives everyone a clear sense of purpose and direction. It is inspiring to see how deeply she's involved in creating a strong foundation for both the students and the school as a whole. And so here's her vision. I won't have you read it, but she creates her own vision every year. She works with her department of counseling. She has her mission on what she wants as a school counselor at Bonsall West. And then she has her own beliefs or values that she follows, and these align. And I'm going to walk you through how we get to how it aligns so perfectly with what we do as a district. So, first of all, it's impressive that Ms. Mata has such a structured approach with her annual plan, focusing on both direct and indirect services to students. By setting a goal to dedicate 80%, yes, 80% of her time in these areas, she's making sure that her work is purposeful and aligned with the needs of students. It shows her commitment to being a proactive and intentional in how she supports the school community. So there's her annual plan. She outlines the entire year. And then she has her actions, or what we call lesson plans, and I'll talk about the curriculum that she uses. And then data. This is important, and we'll get to this. By focusing on the leader in me and habits, Ms. Mata is reinforcing the essential life skills and helping students develop strong character traits that will benefit from both in school and beyond. It is so valuable to integrate these habits into her counseling lessons. Each day's focus must provide students with a consistent framework to understand and apply important values like responsibility, teamwork, and leadership. Ms. Mata takes a data-driven approach in her work. By collaborating with the principal, attendance clerk, and office manager, she's able to track key aspects like attendance, behavior, and grades, ensuring that she can address any issues early on and provide the right support to students. This holistic view of each student helps her tailor her services and interventions in the most efficient way. This slide shows you, and it's a breakdown, this is how she tracks her data. This is the SCUDA, School Counselor Use of Time Analysis Tracker. Helps Ms. Mata stay focused on where her time is being spent and whether it is aligned with her objectives. By tracking her activities, she can ensure that she's dedicating enough time to direct services like counseling sessions and indirect services like data analysis or collaborating with other staff. It's an effective way to assess whether she's meeting the needs of the students and making the most of her time. And there, if you have time to take a look at the slide deck, this is really good stuff. Now, she creates the most positive. If you come onto campus, I'll walk you over to her classroom, and hopefully she's doing a lesson and not, doing push-in or pull-out. She creates a positive and welcoming atmosphere for both students and staff. Featuring quotes of the week helps set a tone of inspiration and encouragement. One of her favorite things is every time she leaves, make good choices. Everybody knows that around campus. And celebrating National School Counselor Week this week is such a thoughtful way to honor Ms. Mata's hard work and dedication. It's important to acknowledge and appreciate the invaluable role school counselors play in supporting students' well-being and success. So, Mrs. Mata is so intentional about aligning her lessons with the district's learner profiles. These profiles serve as a roadmap for what the district values in student development by incorporating them into her daily lessons. Ms. Mata making sure that her work supports the broader educational goals of the district. So this is a third grade class that I happened to walk in, and she was going through her lessons and having them think critical on how they can solve problems. She utilizes the leader in me, again, on how to problem solvers is one of our learner profiles. Now, providing a safe space for students to self-regulate during moments of crisis helps them not only calm down, but also learn the valuable coping skills for managing stress and emotions. It creates a sense of safety and trust, allowing students to feel supported when they need it most. By offering this space, Ms. Mata is teaching them how to handle challenging situations in a healthy and constructive way. And this is her little cool-down corner, and she has all the tools that she's taught them how to use. So it's not like they're just up there just to be up there. She actually teaches them each of these tools to use when they need it. All right. When students utilize her office hours for individual support, she is always helping students work through any academic or social emotional issues that come up. Here's a student who took some time and is showing another learner profile of a resilient learner and walking through what she could do differently. She also opens up the reading room each morning for students who would rather read than do the running club. The reading room is also where she holds Project Dandelion, which is where she welcomes new military families and provides them with the many resources for a successful transition to Bonsall West. That empathetic collaborator, our student leadership team members, our students, are the ones who welcome the kids and walk them through. She walks the parents through like paperwork and stuff like that, but that's our empathetic collaborator. Our Student Leader in Me Lighthouse team is one of her favorite programs she leads. Key points about the Student Lighthouse team is leadership development, school culture improvement, representation, collaboration with staff, and community engagement. And so today I'm wearing this shirt that these students, they give up their own time during their lunch and they come and collaborate and find solutions for issues that are going on campus, or they come up with ideas on how to engage our community in school. And so she had a little contest with the Student Lighthouse team, and they were to come up with a design on a shirt. So there's several examples of the design, and this is the one that they selected. So she took it to her father, who is a tattoo studio, right? Tattoo shop, and he made this shirt for everybody. So. Yes. And yes, and the artwork is the students' artwork. And if you notice, the students in the wheelchair and the one with the crutches, we include all students at our school. And so with that, let me show you some of the pictures of them working. Again, this is during lunch. And you can see there on this one, I can't remember what they were planning. They were probably planning some lunchtime activity on the far right. They had their computers out. And if you come during this, you'll be impressed with their leadership, their ideas, their enthusiasm. I know if you had a chance to meet Rourke, one of our scholarship winners, the enthusiasm that he has is what they show each day that they come. They're just super excited to be leaders. And lastly, in closing, as we know on the bottom I have there, when students feel safe socially and emotionally, they perform better academically. They know that they belong at Bonsall West Elementary School, and that has a lot to do with all of our students and staff, but especially the work that our counselor and psychologists do each and every day. As you can see, our I-Ready scores at or above grade level. Our fall scores were 48%. We're at or above grade level. Our mid-year we just finished, we're at 68%. That's an increase of 20% for ELA. And our I-Ready in math at or above grade level was 29%. Our mid-year was 50%, so that's a plus 21% in our I-Ready scores in math. Our attendance currently, as of yesterday, 2/12, I pulled that at 95.55%. And it's all from the work that we do that make our kids, and I know specials takes a lot of time from our classroom teachers to do the math and stuff, but this right here, the counseling, is a key piece that I'm forever grateful that we have. So thank you for your time. Have a great evening and have a great week off.
Thank you, Mr. Camacho. That brings us to our board member reports. We'll start with Nani over in our student board reps.
Sorry, we're sitting in the wrong seats. Good evening, Mrs. McInerney, Superintendent Dr. Golly, esteemed board members, and audience. This month has been exceptionally busy for Bonsall High School, but in the most exciting way. There is a lot in the works for our graduating class of 2025, which Nani will share more about. But to begin, I'd like to talk about an event held last night, which Dr. Golly pretty much already covered, but a valedictory circle party took place last night here in the community center, in which our valedictorian and salutatorian were declared. So the biggest of congratulations to our very own Nani for achieving valedictorian, and to Matthew Such for achieving salutatorian. In addition, 36 of our seniors were in our valedictory circle. This is an incredible accomplishment for BHS, and I am very proud of my peers. Furthermore, every senior on our track and field team is a member of the valedictory circle. Track and field season just began with their first practice on Monday, and unfortunately, due to the weather, the rest of practice time this week was cut off, but practice will resume on February 24th in preparation for the first track and field meet on March 13th. I look forward to letting you all know how it goes. The beginning of spring sports, also including boys volleyball, softball, and baseball, marks the end of our winter sports season. The boys and girls basketball teams had a good run, and cheer will continue by performing at the next pep rally scheduled for 2 Fridays from now. Our seniors are grateful for and looking forward to a week off next week, as we've been working really hard with graduation preparations. That is only a glimpse of what BHS has been working on, and Nani will share more exciting news. So thank you all.
Good evening, esteemed board members, Mrs. McInerney, Superintendent Dr. Gawley, and community. So this month has been an active month for Legionnaires. For our students on the mock trial team, competition season has finally come, and the team has been heading down to the San Diego courthouse to compete with other schools in the trial of a kidnapping over an intense political rivalry. The team's attorneys will present their best arguments as to whether the crime really happened or whether it was all entirely staged. This week, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, our ASB is hosting another Spirit Week. Monday's theme was sports fan love, so everyone showed up in their best sports gear. Tuesday was dynamic duos. My favorite group of outfits from that day was inspired by the TV show Strawberry Shortcake. Wednesday was night in or night out, where everybody had to decide between dressing up or dressing down. Today's theme was retro romance, where you could dress as your favorite decade. And tomorrow's assignment is to wear red, white, or pink in honor of Valentine's Day. On top of that, to make everyone on campus feel special and appreciated, ASB created a wall of paper hearts, putting up one heart for every student and staff member. During lunch on Valentine's Day, students will be able to find their paper heart and turn it in exchange for a piece of candy. To inspire even more love on campus, ASB has spent the last 2 weeks selling Valentine's Day grams. Students can send their friends either a single rose or even an entire bouquet of flowers, along with a personalized note. For our seniors, the end of January also marks the encroaching deadline for submitting FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid. To celebrate students that were able to complete the form, our counselors are hosting a FAFSA party. Preparing for post-high school success is a stressful time, regardless of whether our seniors will be going to trade school, a 2- or 4-year university, or other endeavors. Our counselors have made it their mission to support the students to the best of their abilities. Speaking of college, our early college program has kickstarted again with the beginning of the spring semester at Palomar College starting on January 27th. The early college program is one of the highlights of being a student at BHS, and it only continues to grow. This month, Eiley and I would like to give a shout out to another teacher who is new to BHS, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Lopez came to BHS later in the year, but has made a sincere effort to get to know every single student that enters his classroom. Fascinatingly, he hosts a Dungeons and Dragons club in his classroom every day during lunch, making it a lively and exciting place for students to hang out. Mr. Lopez is a kind soul who greatly contributes to the community at BHS by caring about a student's well-being and being a wonderful person. As we approach another week-long break, Legionnaires will come back replenished and ready to learn. We hope that we can count on your continued support for our school district. Thank you.
Mr. Ortega.
Okay, well, it's hard to believe we're already going into a week-long break. It seems like we just barely got back into school with all the little breaks that were in between. Between December and January with the power outages, the high winds, the fires, I don't know, is there anything I missed? Probably a lot, but road closures, what can we say, buses being late, all kinds of things happening, and well, we're here, we made it through, and looking forward to a lot of good things. And I especially liked all the things I was hearing about. Congratulations to the valedictorian circle and becoming valedictorian. That's pretty awesome. And also the high school mural that's going up. I've been fielding all kinds of phone calls on that high school mural, positive, mostly because they want to take our artist over to other schools already, and one of the things that comes up every now and then in Southern California and across the country is people do try to word land acknowledgements. And one of the things about land acknowledgements is, just trying to show reverence for the people that used to live in this area, and the history of this area. And I think the mural is actually one of the greatest land acknowledgements you can have. An example of a land acknowledgement would be the American flag. When the astronauts landed on the moon, they planted a flag, and that declared it was part of America. That's what I consider a land acknowledgement. Although, we can't really just have a flag up, but I think, or we probably could, but I think having the mural up is like one of the greatest land acknowledgements you can have. So you don't have to worry about trying to say, what happens when somebody says, well, you didn't do a land acknowledgement, you just point at the building there that's going up. And the fact that the students are helping out with that is pretty awesome. I haven't really seen it in person. I've seen pictures of it. But I'm looking forward to when I get the opportunity to go down there and see it. It's good. I've already, like I said, I've already been hearing from other people about people say, how were you able to do that? And I go, I didn't do it. The idea was presented to me, but, it's the district. It's the people in the district, the community, everybody getting together and doing that. And that's what makes it actually even more beautiful than just the artistry on the walls. And, some people that have approached me, they say, well, we might not be able to do that because we have so many people against us, and that'll make it really difficult to get something like that done. But, this is not the first time that Bonsall School District has been looked at as the, instigators of these wonderful things. Other people have, all across San Diego County have reached out to us on a lot of things we're doing up here in our small little school district. So yeah, I just wanted to show how important that is and how it's just a part of what we're actually doing in Bonsall Unified School District all the time. The Tuchel Healing Hearts, that is an awesome program that's going up. One of my concerns was Vivian Banks being such a small school, and being a small school having a part-time emotional support person there. They would be called, but maybe they could be there in 20 minutes. Maybe it would take longer and stuff if they weren't there that day. And if they were there that day, usually they were doing paperwork and stuff most of the time, which all that stuff has to be done. And I understand that the small school doesn't really warrant having a full-time, support person there. Excuse me. I'm drinking tea with honey. It's making me burp. So, we talked about the idea, and with Mr. Costa's help and everything like that, and congratulations, Mr. Costa, for talking with everybody and getting that thing started there. There was a few hurdles to cross, but Mr. Costa being the principal out there, he's doing a great job, and he's looking out for our students. And I'd like to have a round of applause, praise for him for doing all that work there. Because he's seen our kids that need help and support, and they're a smaller group, yes, but it doesn't mean that they're not less need less support. They need just as much support as everybody. And this goes back to my old analogy I used to use several years ago was, you could have 1,000 students and you give them 10 basketballs, but then you have a school of 50 students. You can't give them a half a basketball. You got to give them a whole basketball. It's just not going to work with a half a basketball. And I know it's not cost effective, but it works. But kind of figuring out a way to think outside the box and have that program come in is incredible. It's incredible. And right now the kids have to sign up for it, but I understand there's a lot of students that are signing up for it. So it's there and it's available, and I think that's the best you can offer. So again, thank you very much, Mr. Costa, for that. Theater company, seeing them do that stuff, I tell you, I've been able to challenged myself on doing a lot of things, and one thing I could never do was theater. I tried that, and I did one role where someone interviewed me and stuff, and they were like, hey, I got to do this play for my school project and stuff, and I'd like you to be in there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll help out. And I tell you, I looked at that thing after I got done. I was just reading lines. Even if I had it memorized, I was still just reading lines. I had no emotion in it at all. I don't have that ability. Or at least I was never taught by the proper person to teach me that. But the job you're doing with those kids, it's awesome. It's awesome to see that they're able to do that. That's incredible. You know, SPED education, I understand that. That's something that we have to definitely look into and work on. I congratulate all the schools on the attendance programs that they're doing. I think it's great. I think there's a little bit of a challenge going on there to have the numbers up there, and I kind of like that. See their challenge. And believe me, if you get over, 95% or 90%, there's kind of no second place. You're all doing a great job, because it can be a lot worse than that. So if you guys are over 90%, you're all doing great. And I know when you look at the final numbers, there's a first, second, third, but you're all winners. You're all winners when you get the attendance rates up that high. And I like the fact that you're not satisfied with that and trying to get more. I think that's very important. And really appreciate that effort from all the staff and support. And again, a lot of that stuff goes back to not just the staff, but the community and the students themselves, And one of the things that I think wasn't touched on when it comes to high attendance rates is that the students, when they have high attendance, yeah, they do perform better in school, but I think part of it's they're there more often and they're more comfortable being there. When they're there more every day, they have this thing about being more comfortable. If they're there one day out of the week or something like that, there's this little stress, from not being up to everybody with everybody else. But if they're every day, they know that they not only have support with the teachers, but they have support with their schoolmates, classmates. And I think it's a very positive thing when you get students in school a lot more often, just emotionally as well. And glasses without lenses. My niece liked her grandma a lot, and so she wore glasses like her grandma, but she didn't need glasses, so they didn't have lenses. So every time she went to visit my sister, so this is my grandniece, she would wear her glasses. And then she got to the point where she would actually wear them to school. And I think there's now 6 kids in her class that are all wearing glasses without lenses. So it's just something, they look studious. They all look studious. So anyway, that's pretty cool. That's another little side story that came up to my mind with you talking about that. I'm looking forward to a lot of great things with all the challenges we're facing. I know when we had the first power shutdown at Vivian Banks and the kids were out of school, and I became aware of the fact that some parents still wanted to send their kids to school. And I was thinking about this idea of like providing classrooms either in the Paula area or even at the Bonsall Elementary area, to where we could maybe bus some kids over there, or maybe drive some kids over there so they could still be in school for that day, do like the little house on the prairie classroom where you have one teacher teaching like 20 students, 2 teachers teaching like 20 students each, be 40 students and stuff, and have some kids still in school. They would get lunches and everything, and stuff. And I thought that'd be a great idea. But then 2 days later, the big schools lost their power and stuff. And it was like, oh man, we don't have an answer for that. That's 800 students that we have to find places for. And so even though you can come up with an idea of some of these little things, these problems are always going to be there, and you're not going to have answers for all of them. But we all came through it, and the teachers and staff and everybody came through it well. And I applaud all your efforts on making the kids feel comfortable. And I don't know what that does to your attendance rate when the kids don't show up to school at all or the school's closed down, but I'm sure you factored that in. Anyway, I just want to say great job to everybody. And I also want to commend my colleagues up here on the board for doing a great job and, coming to the meetings and being prepared and stuff. A lot of times I try to be prepared and I figure I got it. These guys come in and they're just like, wow, these guys looked at this stuff really hard. But anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for all the efforts you do as well. Appreciate that. And the young ladies over here too, that are doing a great job. But that's all I got for right now. I know it's a lot. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. LaPoire.
I appreciate the tonality of the reports when they actually show the reality of what's happening. I always have an issue when we hear and say, rah, rah, everything's good, we do some things, but this is not what life is. This is not reality, right? And so the best way to face and solve problems is to acknowledge them and present them. So I appreciate the tonality of the report when they say, well, you know, there's good stuff, but there's also bad stuff. And the best way to get our help and our support is to be able to expose those challenges. So keep bringing them so that way we can help you guys trying to solve those issues. The same way you want your kids to know they're not alone, I want you two guys to know you're not alone either. It's interesting what happened in everything that was said before, because that really goes in line with what I want to talk about. One of the value that we have in my company, 2B, is swing big. It's the acknowledgement that if you don't take risk, you're not going to move forward and you're going to get stale and you're going to fail. 2B streamed the Super Bowl last weekend. It was an incredible event, but a lot of visibility, high risk with small company, and we crushed it. I mean, it was a huge swing, and it worked. But it doesn't come with the acknowledgement that it's okay to fail. It's okay to challenge the status quo. It's okay to look at what you're doing, even if it works, and say, can I do it better? Is there better ways to do things? So it's not change for the sake of change. It's acknowledging that maybe there's better ways. Maybe someone has better ideas. So, you know, listening to them, acknowledging that we need to take some risks so we can reap the rewards. We want to try things. Ms. Ariano mentioned it. That we're nimble, we're small. Let's try things. And not everything will work, not everything will stick, and we're going to fail on some. But we need to fail small and move fast, so that way we're able to find things that works for us. Because there's no recipe book. What works in the next district is not going to work for us. So times are tough. There's a lot of moving parts and variables. But at the end of the day, if we have the will to swing big, we're going to win big. So that's my statement for this time. Thank you.
Mr. Merchat.
All right. I would like to thank all the participants that took part in the Bonsall Advisory Committee. They took an evening, and we had community members, we had parents, we had employees, and we had students, and so it was really awesome to get the full aspects of all the things, not just a very narrow focus, a lot of programs and a lot of things that kind of emphasize some of the things that we thought about, but also other things that focused on something different that would be, I think, wonderful for the district. So I'm really glad that I'm able to participate, and I look forward to the next meeting. Turn it.
Mr. Gaddis.
You know, it's funny. Well, not funny, but I was sitting here, and then Pascal started talking about taking risk and all this, and all of a sudden I had this spontaneous motion to say something that I wasn't going to talk about. So, but it is something I think is important, and it's about a guy named John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill was a famous English philosopher, and this philosopher believed that free speech was extremely important, and he justified free speech. And he gave a test for it and said, here's why all speech, as long as it's not, incendiary, but but all speech, even speech you adamantly and vehemently disagree with, has value. So he used a utility approach when he was looking at it. He didn't say it was a natural right to have free speech. What he said is there's value in free speech, and that's what really is important. So, because free speech is not about protecting what you like. That's easy, right? If you agree with what somebody's saying, there's no need for protecting it. What you need to protect is the opinion that you are opposed to, because someday you might be in that opposition group and you want to be able to say what you want to say. That's where Voltaire says, you know, I might not agree with what you say, but I'll die for your right to say it, you know. But John Stuart Mill, he had a three-pronged value test. And he said the reason that free speech is important is because it gives you value in three ways. Number one, if you listen to somebody, it gives you, even if you completely disagree with them, it gives you the opportunity to reevaluate what you believe, to test it, to say, okay, I'm listening to what this person is saying. Let me see if what I believe is right. So that's number one. It gives you so even if at the end of the day you say, yep, that guy is completely off base, but it allowed you to open-mindedly test your own belief. However, he said number two, it's possible that the person you're listening to might be partially correct. Maybe you find a diamond in what they're saying and say, you know what? That is correct. Maybe I should modify my own belief a little bit, incorporating what they say. So it gives you an opportunity to do that. And number three, he says it's possible that what you believed is completely wrong. And that after analyzing it, you determine that that person is correct and that you were wrong. And so it gives you an opportunity to grow and adopt a new belief. Now, I try to adhere to this in my life, and I've been told by many people it's utopian, right? Oh, that's a utopian way, you know. People will never do it. And there's some element of truth to that. But the more people you get to buy into that, the more it grows. And that's progress. Progress is not, adamantly defending and without listening to somebody else. It's doing that. And for some reason, Pascal, when you started saying that, that's what I started thinking of, John Stuart Mill. I have no idea why, but thank you for that. So anyway, that's my little philosophical thought for the day. So take John Stuart Mill home with you. I want to say one of the things I like most about these meetings are when we have meetings like we did today, where we acknowledge a lot of people. And I thought that it was really, really nice to see, and I thought everyone was well-deserved of the acknowledgments. However, I will say I was very happy to see Gina up there, and I'll tell you why. Because Gina is the voice of reason in a sea of chaos. She is always just straight middle of. And every single thing that Dr. Ghali said about Gina is true. Every single thing. I was sitting here going, man, that's exactly what I think. That's exactly what I think. So, I'm really glad, Gina. I know you're behind the table, you're behind the scenes. But I'm really glad that you got an opportunity to be acknowledged because you deserve it. And I think that, if you look around the room, I think Danny Costa and Gina are the only people who, and Commander Joe, the only people who've been here for, the whole time since, all of us started on this board. So you're kind of like that stable presence, and we're all very happy to have you. So I'm just glad that. I also wanted I was very happy that the theater group got acknowledged too. Theater is such a wonderful thing, and it's an amazing outlet in many, many different ways. In fact, I know one of the people who were up here, one of the girls, I've known her since she was in first grade. And I was just talking to her during the break, and she says, yeah, she goes, I suffer from some anxiety, but being in the theater helps me overcome that. I get to stand on stage in front of people. It's a way for her to challenge her fear. And I thought that was, really impressive that, that she's doing that, especially, at that age. She's saying, hey, this is something this is something that scares me, so I'm going to do it, right? So that I'm going to force myself to do it. So I think that was really neat. And then I kind of want to just kind of end on the quantifiable data that we've been getting about like Pascal was saying. It's really nice to see it because it's like you could put a Band-Aid on something, but that's not really. You got to rip that Band-Aid off. You got to look at it, and you got to acknowledge it, and you got to say, what are we going to do to fix it? And I know math has always been a problem, but I'll tell you one of the most difficult things I've encountered is teaching people to write. Writing is, for some reason, because it's more conceptual, it's more abstract than just, math, which is just kind of straight. It's just really, really difficult. So when you brought up that sample and you showed, that they were using, resources and trying to integrate that and I thought that's the skill set that we need, and I'm really impressed. I didn't even know they were teaching that at third grade. So first of all, I thought that was very impressive. But it's a skill set that they're going to use their entire life. So it's not an easy process, but it is. I'm glad to see that there's so much intent and dedication to trying to change it. So I just want to thank everybody in the room. I think that, you know, I just so you know, I attended a different board meeting for a different school district recently, and I will tell you, I had a whole different feeling in the room sitting over there than this one is. For some reason, this one is, we always seem to have a very, you know, kind of really good rapport, but there you could just feel the tension in that room, and I was like, oh boy, that's different than ours. So it made me appreciate our experience and our relationship we have with you know, each other and with the teachers and the staff and everybody in the district. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, including the community. So thank you for everyone for being who you are, and that's it.
Thank you. It's already after 8 o'clock, so I'm not going to belabor the reports with my voice. I know that we've got some exciting things still on the agenda. I'm excited about the consent agenda coming up and some potential introductions coming up right after that, some information items. I do want to say thank you to Dr. Heather Golly for all the work that you've been doing. It's clear that we are making strides as a district, especially after the failed bond in the fall. And I'm looking forward to the facilities planning information that will be presented today. And with that, I'm just going to say thank you to everyone. It is Valentine's Day week, so love you all. Have a wonderful break next week, and we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Well, it's my pleasure to come back to the podium. I do have a very special introduction this evening. I'd like to introduce Dr. Veronica Pendleton, our new Director of Educational Services, and if I could have her join me at the podium. Dr. Veronica E. Pendleton is a dedicated educational leader with over 26 years of experience fostering academic excellence. In her prior role as Director of Instructional Services for Banning Unified School District, she played a crucial role in shaping curriculum development, professional learning, and student achievement initiatives. Her leadership has been instrumental in enhancing instructional strategies, supporting educators, and ensuring all students have access to high-quality learning experiences. The growth in student assessment performance, as revealed in dashboard indicators, is evidence of her leadership. Throughout her career, Dr. Pendleton has served in various leadership capacities, including principal, assistant principal, and coordinator of instruction. She has consistently been a champion of promoting high-quality instruction, accessible curriculum, and academic achievement for all students. With this aim in mind, her doctoral emphasis focused on how to increase second language learners' success in public education. Beyond her professional achievements, Dr. Pendleton is a devoted wife of 20 years, and her husband, I think he is still here. All right, fantastic. He made it. And takes immense pride in raising a blended family of 5 children. She is also a proud grandmother of 8, a role that further fuels her passion for education and her commitment to shaping future generations. Her unwavering dedication to education, coupled with her deep-rooted values as a wife, mother, and grandmother, continues to inspire her work and her vision for transformative learning experiences that uplift every student. I could tell you this through the interview process, which was kind of a grueling one. We had a really strong panel of folks interviewing our candidates coming in, a diverse community of folks throughout our organization. She did really well in that setting. And then also she met with the cabinet, and again, we had some strong candidates, and Veronica just seemed to be the perfect fit for our organization. And so we're very fortunate that she's joining us in the cabinet, and she looks forward to working with the governing board. So I'd like to present to you and introduce Dr. Veronica Pendleton.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I'm honored and I'm blessed for this tonight's appointment, and I'd like to just give a special thank you to the Board of Trustees, the Superintendent, Dr. Goley, and the entire community of the Bonsall Unified School District. What I'd like to share is that, excuse me, every time I hear my title grandmother, it just kind of brings something inside of me, because it is my favorite role. So I'd like to just share that. I want to just share that in these upcoming months, as I transition to this school district, I am just going to, I'm proud and honored to serve this community in Bonsall, the staff, the educators, and the families of this community. And I'm just looking forward to just coming alongside everybody in this continual journey of improvement and increasing our student achievement district-wide. So thank you tonight. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to our information items. Thank you again for being here in advance of your official first start date, which will hopefully be sooner than later. Looking forward to working with you in propelling Bonsall Unified School District in its belong, believe, and achieve. So thank you. And now we bring to Dr. Golly back to the podium to talk about the LCAP.
Yes, thank you. So again, as we're switching hats, I'm going to do what Soriano did. So as Executive Director of Ed Services and Superintendent currently, was able to prepare the mid-year LCAP update that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And I'm going to start with, I'm not going to read it again, but I'm going to have us look at it again, because as I've said before, our framework is what has driven our strategic planning. And remember that our strategic plan, if you really think back to that entire process, it's really grounded in our collectively developed framework of the future. And that is something that is helping us with prioritizing and decision making. And through this, we do honor the collaboration and the dedication that went into the drafting of this document and this framework. It really serves as our foundation that we have as our unified team. So just a little bit of background. I know you're very familiar with the LCAP, but just for everyone's edification here, just a reminder that Senate Bill 114 added a requirement for school districts to present a report on the annual update for the current year LCAP and the budget overview for parents on or before February 28th of each year at a regularly scheduled meeting of the governing board. So we're here today to present that to you. And what it consists of, as you know, and it has been attached to the agenda, it's rather lengthy, but what it consists of is all available mid-year outcome data related to metrics identified in the LCAP, and that includes mid-year expenditure and implementation data on the actions in the LCAP. And a reminder of our LCAP, that is it stands for Local Control and Accountability Plan. It's a strategic planning document created by districts in California. It does outline all of the goals, actions, and expenditures to improve student outcomes and to address the needs of all students, but it really does particularly focus on students who are low income English learners or foster youth, with the purpose of ensuring equity and accountability in education. As you probably remember, we entered into a new 3-year LCAP cycle with the 24-25 school year, and that will continue for the next 2 years. And the update that is linked, and actually I'm not sure if it's actually linked yet. I need to make sure it's linked on there, but it's attached to the agenda. It is rather lengthy, so due to the large number of metrics and actions, I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'm going to instead just kind of orient us again to the organization of the report, give you some highlights, and then we'll see if you have any questions. And I'm going to call up the fabulous Laura Castro to share a little bit about the impact of the budget overview first for parents.
Dr. Gowley, would you mind passing this? Yes. I think this is okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Gully. So we're going to continue with this presentation. So on the screen, we have the impact to the budget overview for parents. So you have 3 columns. One is the description of the total LCFF funding and the supplemental and concentration grants. So we're comparing when we adopted this budget overview for parents was a budget adoption time, which was before the budget was enacted by the government. So you see a difference. If you have you can see on the screen, we have a difference on the total LCFF funding, $421,000 as an increase. And for the supplemental and concentration grants, we have an increase of $160,000. That's the difference between the 2 columns right there. The paperwork that was passed to you, was handed to you, it looks very similar because it's the same table, but one is one reporting time, which is the budget adoption, and the second one is a first interim report. The second one is a first interim report, which will link to the numbers that are on the screen. I just wanted to show you where the numbers are coming from. So if you look at the first copy that you have in your hands, what on the top says budget adoption, and the last column, then the amounts are highlighted for your reference, so you can tie it really easily. So we have the $24,455,808, which matches the budget adoption amount right there. I just wanted to show you where the difference is coming from. So when you compare that report to the other one for the first interim report, the difference that I mentioned to you is the $400,000 and change. But one of the major components of the difference is the increase on ADA. If you look at the first column on the report that I provided to you on your hands, is from 2,065.23 to 2,088 and 84 ADA. So we have a difference of like about 23.61 increase in ADA, which is generating our income or revenue. Also, we can see an increase on the top of 41.78 unduplicated pupil percentage to 44.81. Let me clarify here. This number is a 3-year rolling percentage. That's how we're funding for supplemental and concentration. Currently, for the single year, we are 50.86% of unduplicated pupils. So that also gives the increase of $160,000 more. When we compare this to now our increase of the services that we need to provide for this new additional grant increased from 8.21% to 8.80%. Increase that we need to provide those students that are identified as unduplicated pupils or high needs. That's the increase that we need to now serve and utilize this funding that now we're getting as a supplemental and concentration grants. Just a recap, as Dr. Golly mentioned it to you, that details all the expenditures and the metrics, but I'm talking on the portion of that I'm more familiar with, which are the numbers for the expenditures, are included on that report that it was attached to it. Just a summary and a recap, the total budgeted expenditures in the LCAP
was 8.17 million. Currently, the total that we were identified when we ran the report and prepared this report to be presented, we expend so far, based on the plan, 4.63 million. It equals approximately 56%. So we're kind of a little bit over half of the year, which we're right on track on the plan that was presented when the budget was adopted. And that concludes my part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Castro. Okay, I'm going to proceed now to talk a little bit about the orientation of the report for you. And just as a reminder, when we're talking about metrics, since we are mid-year, a reminder that some of the outcomes are unknown, clearly. If the target is that we won't know that information till the end of the year, some of the outcomes are unknown, some are in progress, and some are known. Similarly, as you just heard from Mrs. Castro regarding expenditures and implementation, some things in the LCAP have not been started yet based on what they are. Some are in progress and some are completed. And you'll be hearing obviously a lot more detailed information at our next budget update, but just a reminder that that's what you see in the report. It's not intended that all of these things are completed yet because we are mid-year. So, you, I hope, are very familiar with our LCAP goals. We are very proud that we revised our goals last year. All three goals are aligned to the state priorities. There's three larger areas that we align to, and those areas are enabling conditions, engagement, and learner outcomes. So goal 1 is aligned to enabling conditions, and our goal is that Bonsall Unified will ensure resource stewardship, provides for a safe, secure, and dynamic environment where all learners belong and thrive. The way you'll see this throughout the report in terms of metrics, for every goal there will be different metrics that are outlined, and for each of those metrics there will be a baseline, and the baseline differs because it depends on the kind of metric and the information that we currently had when we put that together. So the baseline could be spring from 23-24, it could be fall of 24-25 depending upon the metric. You will also see for every metric the mid-year outcome data. If we have something to report on mid-year, it'll be listed in there. If it's not something that we can report on yet, it might say something like available summer 2025, or maybe it will say available spring 2025. And then in the final column, you will see the desired outcome for 26-27 because of the 3-year LCAP. So this is just an example of one of the metrics having to do with climate. We have metrics regarding college and career indicators. We have metrics, as you can see, for student course pass rate. And for each of these, I hope you got a feel from the principal reports, and I appreciate that you recognize that and you're seeing it. Our principals are doing a really good job of working with their staff to analyze data that is both formative and summative. They are looking at leading measures of how students are performing and how we're performing according to our metrics, and they're looking at lagging measures. And you will see that we will continue to bring forward information, and they are analyzing that information with their staff. So for example, student course pass rate from first semester, from last year to this year, we saw an increase in many of the areas from 6 through 12. When you look at our SBAC scores, as you heard some of our teachers grappling with, overall, we saw ELA go down a bit, and that is now our baseline for this year for the 24-25 LCAP, and our math was kind of stagnant, but that's overall. If you look down through the rest of the information that's listed there, just like you'll see on our dashboard, you can clearly dig deeper and see by grade level, what are we seeing? By subgroup, what are we seeing? Our principals and our staff members are analyzing that data in their groups, in their grade levels, in their departments, and they're looking at what can we continue to change so that we can achieve higher outcomes. You will also see throughout the LCAP, under, for example, Goal 1, every action, we did a really intentional job last year of making sure that our actions were very detailed. We didn't want it to be something ambiguous. We wanted to be able to refer to it. And as you heard some of our principals referring specifically to those actions, they are things that we are able to really reflect on and to see whether or not we're implementing. So just the orientation of this, you'll see the action with its description, you'll see the total funds budgeted, and the mid-year expenditures to date. And so something like Bonsall Forward Initiative, you'll see total funds budgeted based on what we've been able to do so far this year. We've spent $13,000. We still have the scholarship event coming up, and we still have the work-based learning industry engagement field trips that we're planning. So that's just an example. Goal 2, which is aligned to the priority of engagement, is that we will foster a collaborative, trusting, and equitable culture among students, families, and all educational partners through intentional engagement that is creative and meaningful. Again, through the reports that we're trying to bring to you every month, we're hoping that you're able to see the efforts that we are making. And you will see throughout the metrics, for example, for Goal 2, you heard reference to chronic absenteeism, you heard reference to attendance, you'll see where we are at the moment in terms of mid-year. A lot of these you'll see district-wide in progress, because it'll be data that we'll have by the end of the year, okay? And similarly to Goal 1, you'll see actions such as 2.1, English learner parent supports. That's ongoing implementation. Outcome is in progress. 30,000 allocated, 17,669 spent so far. And thank you for Mrs. Castro for pointing out that 56% is probably right about where we should be with our expenditures thus far. So that's good to hear. Goal 3, which is aligned to learner outcomes, is that Bonsall Unified will create high-quality, customized learning and assessment methods that will result in increased academic success and future readiness for every student. Metrics here are regarding things like our learning walks, student-led conferences, student reflective portfolios, annual typical growth, and you're hearing reference to many of those. I'm excited in that our upcoming design team meeting on March 5th, we're going to be hosting our first learning walk at Sullivan Middle School, and that will give us an opportunity to start really looking at what's happening in the classroom from a district-wide lens with representatives from each site. Pretty exciting. And similarly, as you saw with the others, there will be an action such as literacy achievement with a really clear, detailed explanation of what it is that we want to do for literacy achievement. And mid-year expenditures in some cases are a little bit higher. That's okay. But you'll see that detailed for every action throughout the mid-year update. Okay. Now, I do want to highlight again that this is an awesome opportunity for reflection as we put this together with our leadership, but that's not where we stop. So every leadership meeting, our sites with their departments and grade levels, we are analyzing data and trying to make changes in real time that will have an impact on the outcomes. Next steps, because this is a process, we will have community forums. We will have an LCAP survey. We are getting feedback from our DLAC, NLAC, school climate surveys, our advisory committee, et cetera. And that feedback will then inform any revisions and updates that we need to make for the goals and actions. Remember this cycle, we will be revising that, and then we will bring the LCAP for 25-26 to the board in June. We'll have that public hearing, first board meeting, and then we adopt at the second board meeting, okay? So, questions? Yes.
In one of the slides, you were showing some ELA and math results.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the mid-year outcome data, lowest is 83 and it goes all the way to 99%. Does that jive with what was said by the principal saying, the struggle in math and things like that? It seems like there might be a slight disconnect in the numbers. So I don't know if we evaluate right or let's just say that it's a bit paradoxical to have numbers that are close to 100% when we hear that we are lagging.
Yes, and you're referencing this one right here, right? Student course pass rate. Yes, and that is something that is also really important to reflect upon, because what that forces us to examine are our grading practices and whether or not our grading practices are aligned to state standards. There is a lot of room for improvement and reflection and growth with whether or not we are approaching, I would say, from a competency-based mindset And right now, I think we have a lot of room to grow there. So what you're highlighting here is a discrepancy between how our students are performing on a state assessment versus how they might be being graded. I think it calls to question, of course, the complexity of something like those exams, which I'm glad that Principal Fortney brought up and discussed that a little bit, because it is a measurement on a test. We also have something like iReady and STAR, and we have grades, and we have other measurements, because ideally what you would want to do is in some way kind of triangulate how do all of those things work together to give us an accurate picture of how our students are really performing across our metrics. And it's a really good question, and it's not a simple question. And it's something even like at the high school, I like to then overlay, even on top of that, how are our students performing in their Palomar classes? So if we're preparing them for their Palomar classes and they are passing those at very high rates, it does bring to mind, and I know we can get really philosophical here, but it does bring to mind what Principal Fortney's teacher talked about. This idea that our assessments really accurately giving us a picture of what we value and what we want our students to know and understand. And I think it's probably a combination. I have some articles that I would love to share. There's a lot of information that has just come out. The NAEP, the Nation's Report Card, was just released. And it is somewhat bleak across the nation, but there are bright spots. And there are some areas where we are seeing gains, and we're seeing the students thriving and achieving across multiple metrics. We've got some work to do there. Math is definitely an issue. As Principal Fortney said, we've been piloting different math curricula. We really do need to examine at the elementary level whether or not we are utilizing high quality instructional materials, whether we are using those to fidelity, whether or not our teaching practices really need to change to meet the needs of our students. It's not a simple response.
Thank you. And one last comment. I didn't have the time to think about it when I did my little report, but a first grade teacher at Bonsall L saying that kids arrive in a class not at level means that most of those kids are actually coming from Bonsall L the year before. So the reflection is not just why are the kids there, but it means we are failing in kindergarten, the kids, if we're not able to deliver them in first grade, at level for first grade. So, you know, the lack of foundations that the first grade teacher is complaining is a failure at the kindergarten level from Bonsall L to provide them those foundations. So we really need to look into how we fix our own house, because we can point fingers everywhere, but at the end of the day, the kids go through Bonsall L. If in second grade is missing the foundation from the year before, we didn't provide it to them. It's not other school district, it's not things. We really need to clean and improve our own path within our own classes, so that way Class X delivers students that are ready for the Class X plus 1 the next year, and not kick the can down the road.
I need to share with you, and I know I can find it, but there's a great poem I used to share at the high school level, and it is this poem that kind of, I think it starts with like a college professor who talks about the failings with the kids and what, according to certain measurements, and then they're pointing the finger at the high school, and then they're pointing the finger at the middle school, and then the elementary school, and it turns around. I think it ends like in utero, which is kind of funny, but it's also real, and that is also complex, because what I heard from that teacher's response is that there's a recognition that there are changes. There are changes in our students, and there are changes in their needs. There are changes in the makeup of our classrooms. There are changes in our demographics. There are changes in society, in the world. If you think about the impact of a lot of those changes, and then you consider that we probably haven't really changed our instruction that much from 50 years ago, and we might not have really changed enough in terms of the materials and the approaches. So that's where I say it's complex, and I'm excited to dig into that with them. I'm excited that we have staff that are really reflective and that want to understand how can we then agree for a kindergartner coming out of kindergarten and moving into first grade. If we're saying that they are lacking foundational skills, well, are we clearly identifying what those foundational skills are? And if we are we recognizing where we see the opportunity then to address those throughout the year? Are there other practices that could help that? I could go on, but it is a complicated picture, and we're excited to keep going into this, down that road. Like you mentioned, we can be innovative, and we can make moves that larger districts can't make. And we can be nimble, we can be responsive, and proactive. So it's not an easy task, but it is the work. It's absolutely the work right now.
Thank you. I think it's great that we're looking at getting better, not looking to place blame, because there's nothing going to be accomplished there. But getting back to this question, and I know you and I have had this conversation, especially with math, because that's something near and dear to me. But it seems that if a kid passes math, then he or she should do well on the standard test. But it seems like the standard test isn't always the information that we're teaching. So it seems like there needs to be a coordination, maybe at a higher level, that the test is representative of what the kids are learning.
And I wanted to jump on Rogers because I was going to say something very similar to that, because all the state sets guidelines for each grade, what they're supposed to be learning, correct? So we're supposed to be teaching to those guidelines. So it goes to say that if people are passing their courses based on state guidelines at that high of a rate, that the state should be providing a test that tests those same guidelines. So it seems like the miscommunication is with the state, because if you're teaching the state guidelines there and then they're supposed to be testing them, how come are they not reflective?
I mean, I could understand, okay, 97%, you go, okay, we're 94, kids get nervous,
Right.
whatever. But it's like, I saw 40%, 39% or something.
Yes.
You're like, that.
How can there be that big of a disparity?
Anyone reads that in the paper or wherever would think, wow, our schools are failing. But
Across the
I see
nation.
these kids that here, they're superstars. So I'm not as panicky, but I think the test should be representative of what they
It should be, and that's why I am going to be a passionate advocate for the work that we need to do with examining for ourselves as a district, our blueprint and our scorecard, because students are more than a test score, as you can see, and we need to ensure that when we're looking across all of the ways that we want to examine success for a student, are we making sure that that is balanced? Because they are more than a test score. Our students are amazing. They are going off and doing wonderful things. And we see that. And I would say that we are not alone. We see issues like this with these scores across the nation. It is elevating questions at a higher level in terms of what are we measuring and why. If we're teaching in innovative ways to create critical thinkers and problem solvers, and we're not teaching to a test, and then students get to that test and it might not necessarily represent what we know they can do and what we know they know and understand, then that's an issue. So I'm going to keep advocating for us to examine how we can ensure that we are making our students competitive. Yes, we do need to address that and raise test scores, and we need to look at our students as whole learners and whether or not we are ensuring that they are representatives like these two right here that are going to go off and continue to make us really proud.
Well, I think that the other thing it does is, one thing, it affects a person psychologically, right? So a student is thinking they're a great student, they go and they don't perform well on that test, and they start doubting themselves. So it makes you wonder if those tests are counterproductive to what they're trying to achieve. But the reality is people are not test scores, but yet our school ratings and all that stuff are based on those scores. So you see the problem, and so something is broken, because there's no reason that those numbers should be that way and then our test scores be the way they are. It just doesn't make sense. And so the only thing it says is that the test that they're taking is not being taught in the classroom, but yet you're in the classroom, you're teaching exactly what the state is telling you. So whoever the state is, you see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I want to point out that when you look at an overall composite score or an aggregate of scores, it's not telling the story underneath of who is accessing and performing and who is not. And I think that's really important because when scores are published, what you see is a totality of, here's the total score for ELA and for math. If you really dig in, which our principals are really doing with their staff, we need to look deeper and deeper and deeper, and we are small enough that we should be able to look at every single student, and we should be able to see for each student, where are you excelling, where do you need more support. We can do that in an organization like ours. I would say that I would just caution, the reason all of those subgroups are listed like that is that we have still a very stark contrast in who is performing well and who is not. And I think that there are very complicated responses to that as well, but we need to be aware of that. And we need to see, okay, what does performance mean then? What does success mean? Who's accessing, who's not? What do we need to change in order to meet their needs? And it's a complicated answer, but I think I just want to caution that it's a lot deeper in terms of the information and the data that's underneath those larger whole scores.
If we were to come up with our own test, okay, that should be representative of wherever this student should be, would we expect them to pass at a similar rate to what this shows?
That's a great question. And that's where you have, for example, what we started a couple years ago, we didn't really have district-wide writing assessments. And we need something that is internal benchmark assessments, common assessments that we can then calibrate so we can have those really in-depth conversations. So we've started with writing assessments. We really should have common assessments across the board in all of our departments. And we're moving towards something like that, but that would help because then we can have those conversations. Okay, we know what we're teaching. And here we have a common assessment, and you might be teaching, so for example, I was an English teacher at high school, right? We had English 10, English 10, English 10, 3 teachers next to each other. You're teaching, you're teaching, you're teaching. Now we need to come together, give a common assessment, and analyze the student results so that we can inform our instruction moving forward. That's best practice, and that's something that we've started to move towards. That takes time. It takes a lot of planning time. It takes a lot of effort on the teacher's part, but it's absolutely part of the answer. Nani?
So at the high school level, at least, which is my experience, I do notice that a lot of students do struggle to take the state and district assessments seriously. So they kind of phone it in when it comes to taking these tests. So if we were interested in improving our scores, I feel that would be something to look into potentially.
I love that, and I think it's really helpful now that you're hearing something like this, right? You have a voice in your student leadership at the sites. We have a voice now with the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. What would be wonderful is if we strategize with the students, how would we improve engagement and interest motivation in something like a state test? What would work? Is it an incentive of some sort? Is it just a really thorough, full explanation of what the scores might mean? Is it, whatever it may be? I think that's a very important topic of conversation for our student body. Let's strategize. Eiley.
As you guys were talking about, with the test being completely different from what is actually being taught in class, the biggest difference for me that I can think of is the STAR tests and the CASPs. Those are wildly different than anything that we're taught in class, but even to me, different than like our assessments. I feel like the school assessments are manageable for us, and I feel like it's not really those that we struggle on, but it is those state tests that just really get us, I think. So something there. I don't know if it's that it's more difficult, that may be an issue, but they're just very different in every way from what we're taught in class.
This is why we need student voice and student participation as we're having those conversations and engaging in that. It's really important because you're living it every single day. Your teachers need to hear it too, in a very positive and collaborative way in terms of, I'm saying that as a former high school teacher for a very long time. I loved listening to my students to get their perspective and say, okay, this is what we think we're teaching you. This is how you're performing. Help us. What are you getting? What are you not getting? What do we need to do differently? It's really important. So as student board members, that is something that we can discuss in terms of how could we at the high school level, because it should start there and kind of move down. How do we increase that kind of engagement with the students to see what can we do differently? What should we be doing differently? Thank you.
No, I was going to say, I think that both their comments are extremely valuable because it explains a lot, right? It gets their perspective of what it is. And so, you know, it allows us to focus on, okay, if they're telling us this, then there's something. It's kind of like when you have the SAT test and every now and then they'll throw in a practice one. They're using everybody as a guinea pig, but then they go in there and all the kids who take it all of a sudden freak out because they don't realize. They're like, oh, was that the test one? I mean, is this real? You know, they never seen this, came from left field. So it disrupts confidence and it disrupts, you know, the you know, just the overall effect of the test, because when you do things like that, so it's like Roger's saying, and it should be somewhat consistent, right? You shouldn't have STAR tests that have, you know, your kids go, I don't even know what this is, you know, I don't understand where to begin, because as I said, our goal is to build them up. It says to teach them and build them up, give them the confidence to go forward. And it seems like they're just pulling them down with sometimes with these tests, because those test scores are not, I don't believe they're reflective of the proficiency. I don't believe that.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And that's why you're both here. Your voice is really important. I used to teach an SAT prep workshop at the for our students at the high school level for a long time, like pretty much every summer I taught that. And it was shocking to see from the first test, they would do 3 practice tests. By the end, the market increase just from not content so much, but familiarity with the exam. And we know that, so it's part of the picture, really important. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. You know that get me talking and I'm going to keep going all night, so I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to information item 8.2, the facilities planning, and we have Ms. Caroline Brown.
Got stiffer than I thought. Good evening. Let's see, do we have a presentation or do I just keep going? Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Good evening. We're here again to take a look at our facilities update for the month of February. That's the wrong one. That's the January. That's okay.
This is a test, you know.
I'll go ahead and get started and then the presentation can come up. So we had some action since we saw you last time in January. We recruited 42 members to be on the BAC committee, which is the Bonsall Unified School District Advisory Committee. We held our first meeting on February 6th and had 34 participants. This room was full. You'll see from some of the slides. And I'm going to share with you the activity that we did there, the activities we're going to do at the next second and third session, and additionally the results of some of the student voices that we've heard in some of the survey results. So we'll go through the presentation first, and then we need the February. No, that's the old one. Sorry, Christian. There you go. Okay. That's where we are today. So I just went through the first part of the agenda, sort of our actions since January, And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the feedback from students, and then we'll talk about next steps, planning decisions, and have a discussion or answer any questions that you might have. So we established did the recruitment for the 42 members. We have administration, cabinet, and principals. We have community members, 2 board members. Thank you for your time on that one. Classified folks, we have office manager, paraprofessional, data specialist, and various other titles. And we have certificated staff from various different roles within the district from all schools. And then parents from 3 of the schools, but I think we had another couple that we need to get from other schools. And then students 3 from the high school. Thank you for their time. We had Bonsall's Women's Club, the sponsor group, the foundation, and a representative from Jim Desmond's office. And she was a good addition to one of the tables. Dr. Golly started with some of our, let's do this, with talking about the framework, talking about the vision and the mission of the district, and set the stage for the group. And then we had the DLR group come and do the presentation. Now they are contracted as part of the feasibility study that we hired a couple of years ago, and then we've rejuvenated this this contract, and they are leading these community service or these community advisory meetings that we have. They're formerly Baker Newicki, if you didn't recognize the DLR name. And they propose this agenda. Basically, the first session is to generate goals. What are our district goals? Not action steps to solve problems, but to actually identify the problem and figure out what the goal is to go forward. And then we worked in table groups, 6 table groups of 6 or 8, and they used Post-it notes to capture the areas of goals, facts, and needs and concepts to sort of differentiate and then have the goals rise to the top. And then the second and third symposium, they're calling a symposium, we're calling it an advisory group. We'll get that fixed in the next session. It's going to be needs and facts. And the needs and facts include a deeper dive into funding sources and uses, where the buckets of funding are, and how schools are funded in general. Through the state program and the local programs. And then the third session will be concepts and solutions, and then we will be doing a report to the board in June. So setting up goals, there was quite a bit of discussion from the DLR group about what is a goal, and these questions were posed and left up on the screen as they had 2 questions to answer. The first one was the your local campus goals, so people could share about what's happening at their campus and not provide solutions, but provide what their goals are. And then the next slide was the what's unique about your district and what overall district goals would you bring forward. And then, so we had 34 people come. DLR put the tables together and led the discussion. They actually had a staff member from the DLR office at each table group to lead the discussion, which I think helped guide people into concentrating on this effort of having goals. And then we have our next advisory meeting on March 19th and May 14th, and then board study sessions on March 17th, or 27th, sorry, and then June 12th or the 26th, depending on how that agenda rolls in June. So with that, are there any questions that you have about the process or any information that you'd like? Maybe you participated if you have some things to share or some questions.
Well, I think there's a lot of value in having this wide group of people discussing the future of the district, or at least assessing the problems and the needs. It's going to be way more, I advertisable. That's not a word, but it's going to be easier to communicate to the community about what, as a group, we've been coming from versus having just the board or a couple of people or professional. The DLR people are there to advise us and help us. They're not there to come with the solution. And I think it's a service to the community that we can put the efforts in and the time in to try to come with solutions that are viable and make sense in the grand scheme of what we're trying to achieve. So I think it was interesting conversation. One thing that was pretty evident is that despite all tables working individually, there was a real synergy, and all tables pretty much coalesce around the same theme and goals. So the entire community recognized what the gaps are and what we're trying to achieve. So that's encouraging. We don't have disparaging voice and huge gaps to fill, at least in the vision, which is already a win in some ways.
So our next steps is Heather and I will be meeting with the DLR group after they've been able to collect all the data and formulate it into a report that we can communicate with you. So that'll be coming next. So we're going to do it over the Thanksgiving break, over the President's holiday week, so that we can compile that and get it back to you in a good timing. Roger, did you want to share anything about your impression of the meeting at this time, or? Mm.
Big items was, they wanted to be able to teach to the level of the child. In other words, not to a base level here. If the child's here, let's see if we can bring them up as far as we can. But if the child's up here, let's keep challenging that child. And there was things about having dual immersion, STEM, and it was really more about programs that they were all concerned about. And I think one of my parents was from Bonsall West, because he was mentioning that they love the teacher there. So that's
good. Thank you. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. We'll go to some of the initial topics that have floated to the top with our student advisory group and our student small group sessions that Dr. Ghali has head up. So basically there's a sentiment of some overcrowding and that the schools are not balanced in enrollments. The state of the facilities, that they felt that the focus needs to be on the middle school and the high school. The grade level offerings and having some consistency across the campuses on grade levels. Course options to grow the high school a little bit more. And then they're concerned about transportation and how far people have to go. Elevating the student experience, and then safety and equity across the district. So those are the themes that have floated to the top, having the discussions with the students, which are very similar to those that have floated to the top when we talk to staff and at the advisory group. And so next steps, we're going to continue. A lot of these are the same as the ones I talked about in January, because it's a lot of work and a lot of checklists that we need to go through to get things done. I did get notification from Davis Demographics. We should have a draft of enrollment projections in the next 10 days or so. We're still shuffling through the interdistrict transfers of in and out to come up with a good number of transfers happening. And then I did do a site assessment when I went around to all the schools and looked at every classroom and which rooms are being used for what. And so I'm going to be updating the capacity, operational capacity, not just what the state thinks you can put in the school. And then we are talking about expanding the survey to a wider community. And then we're still developing and collecting data to do an FAQ based on inputs and questions, and then strengthen our community messaging. And then continue on with our district research, our peer research of other districts. And then the last list of things that are next steps are around the funding. We need to determine specific facilities projects. We need to determine cost estimates, funding and finance options. We have Mr. Bauer coming to talk to us about some other options that we'll be summarizing and bringing back to the board. State and other funding opportunities, timing of everything, and then through all the discussions in January, we thought that we should probably bring back some board study sessions in the fall to really dive into what CEQA requirements are, and when we identify projects, what CEQA we're going to need to do, as well as take a look at construction market conditions and do a little training on delivery methods and what your choices are there. So that concludes my report, unless there are any other questions.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yep. Thank you.
Brings us to the action items of our meeting. Action item 9.1, the BUSD Comprehensive School Safety Plan, the CSSP, for fiscal year 2024-25.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to action item 9.2, the Memorandum of Understanding Agreement between the California Healthy Kids Survey, that's CHKS, and the Bonsall Unified School District.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to the purchase of Elevation Education Platform for English learners.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to action item 9.4, the BUSD Independent Auditors Report. We had no findings. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, bringing us to action item 9.5, the approval of the agreement with AHIRA Reporting with Western Environmental Safety Technologies, LLC.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to action item 6, the contract between TRS Roofing Company and Bonsall Unified School District for roof repairs at Bonsall High School C Building.
And we got bids on this, right? Pretty fantastic. Motion to approve.
I also have one question. We did the Sullivan roofing repairs recently. The company that did the Sullivan repairs, I didn't see on the bid list for this particular building. I'm just curious why they weren't included in the bidding process. Got it. Thank you. Do we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to action item 7, the contract with Infinity Communications and Compliance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And action item 8, the MOU between BUSD and Point Loma Nazarene University for fieldwork student and counseling preparation programs and internships. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, bringing us to our last action item on the agenda, the modification to Bonsall Unified School District Director's total number of workdays.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously, bringing us to the public comment portion of our meeting. We do have a speaker slip. I will turn it over to Mr. Gaddis to talk about that.
Okay, public comment. The Bonsall Unified District Board of Trustees welcomes participation at the district school board meetings. If you wish to address an item on the agenda, you must complete this form and deliver it to the executive assistant prior to the board considering the item. If you wish to address the board considering matters within the board's subject matter jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, you must complete this form and deliver it to the executive assistant prior to the public comment section of the agenda. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. It is requested that speakers address the board from the podium when addressing the board. And Commander Joe.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to do 5 bullets, and I'm going to start off with bullet number 3. Great job on the update. Bullet number 3 is Bonsall Unified School District Advisory Committee. I noted that the bosses, the staff were walking around, which is very, very good. Walking around, taking things in, showing leadership, role model leadership by example, which I thought was very, very good. The board had the advisory committee had principals on it, students on it, board members on it. Very, very, very well done. Great super interaction amongst a wide range of varied inputs. And you too are very, very important. Just like you showed tonight, you're very, very important. And make sure on your resume that you put down that you're proud members of the Bonsall Unified Advisory Committee. Met Thursday, 06/1700, February 2025. Okay, so that's number 3. Very, very good. Number 1. Very good Legionnaire comments as usual and activities that you're doing, and the board member briefs, all very, 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 very good. And keep driving home. Belong, believe, achieve. Service, innovation, collaboration, and integrity. Keep hitting that. It's never too much. That's what makes this school district very, very good. And Jen, thanks for all your work on everything. Okay, number 2, keep the great flyers going. Angel Gina had this. I brought this up before. I noticed that Cornell wasn't on here, but that's okay. There's only so much. His son's going to Cornell, which is a fantastic school. But this keeps us all up to date. It arrives in our mailbox. I know it costs money, takes time to put together wonderful things like this, but it's very, 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 very valuable. Very, very valuable. This that was at the advisory committee, putting these kind of things together. Very, 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 very nicely done at each table. As a matter of fact, I stole 2, see, to end up given to the neighbor. Flyers very, very influential, very, very positive. Keeps the public updated and realizing what a valuable asset this school district is to the community. Especially like the students up here. This is what a couple of them fell down, but that's right, that'll be taken care of in the future. They'll appear back up there. But very, very good, because other members, not necessarily involving the school, but Bonsall people come in here and they see that when they're having other meetings. So it's very, very valuable to keep that sort of thing going up and outreach, not only for future bond measures, but just to keep people involved. Number 3, we already covered. Number 4, the village news and outreach. Just keep going on that. It's super great. The cheer team was in there. We saw you, and then this one right here, the theater of the game. This was in the paper here, and it was in the issue of 6 February 2015 on page B6. Nice big pictures, nice big article. And Jen, again, you keep driving that. Keep driving that home. It's very, 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 very good and very, very well done. The last thing, my wife, 39 years a public school teacher, got her master's degree from Hampton University, graduated ODU. And as you know, passing the California bar exam or whatever, the issue always is teach the test. But that's not really education, that's not really good. But if we're really going to focus totally on the test, then that's what we need to teach. The bar review courses there, I took the bar exam 3 times, failed 3 times, each time it got worse. I'm too stupid to ever pass it. But that whole issue about, are we going to teach the test or we're not? And I see the national rankings. I see this high school ranked nationally, ranked statewide and all that. But, if we want to go after that, then we have to go. The former superintendent said, some of that is if you pay the folks, they'll end up doing a good job for you. capitalist society, which may or may not be good. The STAR test, all of that. But remember, too, and be very, very proud that allegedly, and I could be wrong on this, that the minority enrollment in this district is 70%. And that's tough. When you have minorities, you have a lot of benefits that the majority has. Let's face it. The economically disadvantaged is about 31% of our district. And that's something to be proud of because many people are coming here for the school, which is good. But that's a tough thing to go. If you're rich and famous and all that, you can end up doing well because you have a lot of advantages. But you have a lot of folks here that have special needs. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and we appreciate it. All right, keep up the good work.
Go Bears. Thank you, Commander Joe. And that brings us to the future planning portion of our meeting. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Thursday, March 13th, here at the Bonsall Community Center, unless otherwise officially noticed. Closed session at 4:30, open session at 6. And with that, we are adjourned at 9:06. Thank you all for staying that long.